magazine. One day, she told me she was pregnant. We were both very shocked and realized that a baby was the last thing we could cope with. Debbie decided that she wanted to have an abortion. After a few telephone calls, it became clear that this would be very difficult to arrange. Debbie could not have an abortion on the National Health Service unless she had proven psychiatric or medical problems. When we tried to find a private doctor to help, we found it would cost over £400, money we just didn't have. I was at my wit's end when I finally tracked down a kind doctor in Birmingham who told me that she could arrange the operation for £50. After the operation, Debbie and I realized that there must be a host of young people who had faced the same problem and had nowhere to turn for help. It wasn't just unwanted pregnancies that were the problem. What if you needed psychological help? Or if you had venereal disease but were scared of admitting it to your nice family doctor? We drew up a long list of the sorts of problems that students face and decided to do something about it. We would give out our telephone number, work out a list of all the best and most helpful doctors, and see who called. Give us your headaches was the slogan for the Student Advisory Centre. We handed out leaflets along Oxford Street and advertised in Student. Soon the calls started coming in. A number of doctors, both in the National Health Service and the private sector, agreed to give their services for free or for a minimal charge, so we built up a network of professionals to whom we could refer people. Worries about pregnancy and contraception formed many of the calls, but we also became quite a centre for gay men and lesbians to hang around. They were not as interested in asking our advice as in finding ways of meeting each other, revealing how difficult it was for gay people to lead a normal social life. The Student Advisory Centre began to take up more time than Student Magazine. I would be talking to possible suicides for an hour at 3 a.m, advising pregnant girls as to who was the nicest doctor they could go to, and in what little time was left, be trying to run the magazine. With both the Student Advisory Centre and Student Magazine, life at Albion Street remained frantic, and the numbers of people coming in and out of the house at all times of the day and night drove our neighbours to distraction. We scoured the neighbourhood looking for somewhere to rent. The best deal was offered by the Reverend Cuthbert Scott, who liked the work of the Advisory Centre, and offered us the use of the crypt of St John's Church, just off the Bayswater Road, for no rent at all. It was a dank and dingy place, and I put an old slab of marble across 2 tombs to make my desk, and everyone found themselves somewhere to sit. We even charmed the local post office engineer into connecting the telephone without our having to wait the normal 3 months. And after a while, none of us noticed that we were working in the dim light of the crypt, surrounded by marble effigies and tombs. In November 1969, I received a visit from 2 plainclothes policemen from Marylebone Lane Police Station. They had come to draw my attention to the 1889 Indecent Advertisements Act and the 1917 Venereal Diseases Act, and told me that it was illegal to advertise any help or remedy for venereal disease. These acts had originally been introduced to stop quack doctors from exploiting the large number of people who came to them for expensive and ineffective cures. I argued that I was only offering a counselling service and that I passed on anyone who had VD to qualified doctors at St Mary's Hospital, but the policemen were adamant. If the Student Advisory Centre continued to mention the words venereal disease in public, I would be arrested with the prospect of 2 years imprisonment. The week before, we had successfully prosecuted a policeman from the very same station, Marylebone Lane Police Station, for planting drugs on one of the Student Advisory Centre's clients, and so I suspected that the visit was connected. We duly changed the mention of venereal disease in the leaflets and started describing it as social disease. Then we got a huge number of inquiries from people who were suffering from pimples and spots and acne, and the number of people calling us for help over VD dropped from 60 a week to 10. We decided that the police were bluffing and that helping the remaining 50 people a week was worth risking the Metropolitan Police's threats. We reinserted the mention of VD. We were wrong. In December 1969, the police arrested me. John Mortimer, a barrister who had established a reputation for his support of libertarian causes after his defense of Oz magazine, offered to defend me. John reminded us that every public lavatory carried a government notice on the inside of the door offering advice to those suffering from venereal disease. If I was guilty, then so was the government. I was prosecuted on 2 counts. Under the Indecent Advertisements Act, 1889, which prohibited advertisements of an indecent or obscene nature and deemed references to syphilis and gonorrhea to be indecent, and the Venereal Diseases Act, 1917, which banned advertisements offering treatment or advice or even mentioning the words venereal disease. At the first hearing on the 8th of May 1970, the Marylebone Magistrates Court, Tom Dryburgh, the Labour MP, gave a dramatic plea on my behalf. Chad Barra, the founder of the Samaritans, also gave evidence, pointing out how many people the Student Advisory Centre had referred to his charity. John Mortimer made his argument that if I was found guilty, I would have no option but to prosecute the government and all the local authorities, since they had also put up notices in public lavatories. The magistrate dismissed one of the charges on the grounds that the Student Advisory Centre did not offer to cure people, but referred them to qualified doctors. He adjourned the other charge until the 22nd of May. As the court case was proceeding, statistics were released revealing that the number of people with venereal disease had risen dramatically to a post-war peak. Lady Burke, the chairman of